Alright, ladies and gents, I'm going to do an unboxing. I rarely do these, but for this one, this is for the Champions of Slaanesh. Now, I'm making this a big deal for several reasons. One, I haven't really engaged with major interest into Warhammer 40k. Um, I originally got into it during 3rd or 4th edition. Currently, it's 10th edition. So over a decade or two have passed. I'd say maybe like 15 years have passed since I last played. And I tried getting back into 40k recently through Gene Stealer cults. And the reason why I got that one is because I got impatient. I wanted to try something different. And I have studying cults is one of my hobbies. And so I thought, well, yeah, let's just maybe this goes along my interest. Well, I'll try that, give it a shot. Naturally, though, I'm a fan of Slaanesh, the fourth chaos god. And there are four chaos gods. Khorne, which I consider the chaos god of blood and war, and mostly blood and war. Nurgle, the god of rot and decay and pestilence. Tzeentch, the god of fate and destiny. And Slaanesh is the god of hedonism and excess. So when I got back into Warhammer a few years ago, ever since I moved into Vegas, I still followed my appreciation of this Chaos God Slaanesh. And so in Age of Sigmar, which is the successor to Warhammer Fantasy, the Heathen Knights of Slaanesh had an almost Persian aesthetic to them. And they barely had introduced the human side of things, because originally when Slaanesh was released for Age of Sigmar, it was a predominantly demon faction. So when I joined in, they had both human and demon sides. And the color palette of it was predominantly this lilac and purple. I avoided it. I avoided getting into 40k because for a long time they didn't have Emperor's Children, which is the 40k, the future sci-fi future version of Slaanesh. And the sculpts for Emperor's Children are incredibly outdated. I think the last models they had were all made of metal, and that was over 10 years ago. So when the rumors finally came true and the previews came out a number of months ago, I decided, okay, I'll jump back into 40k when the Emperor's Children comes out. And even though I started with Gene Stealer cults first, I eventually decided, okay, when I walked into the local gaming store, I thought they had run out of this. This is a launch box for an army. Whenever you see a launch box, it's a big deal because you're oftentimes getting a lot of value for what you get from it, because they're trying to get people into the new army that's released. And when I looked at other boxes, like combat patrol boxes, people have been saying that you don't get as much value from the models that you get from those boxes, but if you ever got your hands on this one, you would. When I saw that there was still a box of this remaining at my local game store, I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's just pull the trigger. Let's get back into this. Let's do Slaanesh, and I'll sell off my Gene Stealer cults. Because I could use several of my demon units on Age of Sigmar for Heathen Knights of Slaanesh for Emperor's Children, because they're both under Slaanesh. They leverage the same units. So with that said, here let's do this unboxing of Champions of Slaanesh. And so you have this cover, you have Fulgrim in the background, you have a Lord Exultant in the front with the symbol of Slaanesh behind him. You have some Noise Marines over here. And let's flip this around to show you what's on the back. Okay, so you have a unit of 5 models of Noise Marines, 5 models of Noise Marines. You have the Lord Exultant here. And I believe these are in. I'm going to assume these are infractors, and these are tormentors, or these are tormentors, these are infractors. Either way, they're units of 10. And you also get data cards and the book. And here's a little blurb about the Emperor's children. They used to be one of the most loyal to the Emperor, but they had this massive ego. And then next thing you know, they're obsessing over excess and extreme experiences. The interesting thing is you'll notice that they're pink. Their armor is more pink. Whereas, I think I mentioned earlier, the Hedonites of Slaanesh, they're more lilac and purple. You do have some level of purple here on the Lord Exultant, but it's not as prominent. You just have black and pink. Black pink. This is the black pink army. Anyways, so you have the symbol of the Emperor's children, and let's move forward. So here you see the full spread of the illustration. You no longer see the Lord Exultant in the front. I think that was special for the cover of this, so I'll probably keep the box. But you'll see Fulgrim here. You see a bunch of Imperial Guard getting blasted by sonic weapons that come from the Noise Marines. So they're just getting ripped apart by sound. There are no sonic weapons in Hedonites of Slaanesh for Age of Sigmar, the fantasy side. The sonic weapons are predominantly in 40k. But for both sections, they are known for being melee oriented and for speed. That's a unifying trait of both forces, both for Emperor's Children and Hedonites of Slaanesh. So aside from Fulgrim, you also see kind of in the back a greater demon of chaos. And I think this is a Lord Exultant because you still have the Slaanesh symbol right in the back. Flipping to the back of this, you only see the symbol of Slaanesh. You can kind of see a greater demon in the back of this rhino, unless it's actually, this is a head that's on top of the rhino, and then you see the actual greater demon in the back with the swords, and then you have the claws right behind the symbol. Yeah, I can pinpoint this out because as being a fan of Slaanesh, I've seen these models and illustrations and possibilities so many times that I don't know, you just second instinct, or just an instinct to it. Oh my gosh, I ripped it. Fail. I'll take that later. All right. So here are the plastics. These are all the sprues. You have what is this? These are Noise Marines, I think. Yeah, these are Noise Marines because they have the sonic thing on their backpack. I believe this is the Lord Exultant, so they have all the options on here, and I can just customize it however way I want. Lord Exultant is the commander of the army, and you have the rest of the sprues here for the rest of the units that I'd have to assemble. Beyond this, you have this wonderful book. It's not even a book yet. This is actually the container for the rest of the content inside. It has an elastic band, just to keep it secure, but you have Fulgrim on the front with the Emperor's Children symbol, more Slaanesh stuff. What's inside of this is the data cards that you can use easily during play, and then inside of this you have instructions on how to assemble your army. So sprues, size of bases, everything here. I have not personally assembled either a Chaos Marine army or a Space Marine army, because it just never really was my thing. I was, at the time when I first started this, like 15 years ago in 40k, I was playing Necrons, and Necrons were a bunch of like Terminator skeletons that didn't really have an emblem. And the thing about Space Marines and Chaos Marines is that they have emblems for each of the chapters involved, and you could apply these to the shoulder pads to unify their associations, their allegiances. And so they have transfer sheets, which I'll show later. But anyways, so here is the special codex book with the reflective foil, pinkish foil symbols of Slaanesh and for Emperor's Children. What's distinct about these special codexes is that typically at retail you would not have this cover. This cover is unique to launch boxes. A typical Warhammer 40k codex will oftentimes say like Warhammer 40k on top and then Emperor's Children below, or something like comparable to that, and you'll have a very dedicated illustration here. Because this is incredibly minimal, that's what makes this special. That's what makes this a unique edition. And I think I mentioned earlier, like what's also unique about this launch box is that the models for Slaanesh for Emperor's Children have not been updated in over a decade. So this is a big deal. So you get into some of the lore of Emperor's Children. You get to see some painted figures on the battlefield. I need to read up on the lore because even though I am a fan, I don't know a lot about Emperor's Children and why there are these freakish Hellraiser Cenobites. Aside from the fact that Fulgrim is just very egotistical, and so is Lucius the Eternal right after, right? So yeah, I really do equivocate them to Cenobites because a lot of their features, whether in armor or out of armor, has some grotesque stretching of flesh and all that stuff. Now, as I'm showing you this, I just want to mention that I'm personally not into excess of various kinds. I'm actually more into harmony and balance. It's just fun to see what excess looks like from an artistic point of view. But anyways, so yeah, sonic weaponry. This is the signature weaponry of the Emperor's Children. There are no sonic weapons anywhere else in 40k that I know of. There might be. I'm just not thinking about it. So Demons of Slaanesh. This is the demon side of the Slaanesh army, and these are the units that I have in the Hedonites of Slaanesh side, the fantasy side. So I'm able to use those in this army. So I don't have to buy or get more models just to field a military force. So yeah, see, this is the aesthetic I'm mostly going for. The purple and lilac. I'm going to paint Emperor's Children closer to this than the pink stuff that they typically have going. Which is ironic because the type of gold that I like is rose gold, and that's a pinkish, more coppery type of gold. And I've tried to synthesize that color specifically. It either becomes too coppery to the point of starting to look like bronze, or it ends up too pink to the point of looking like a glittery, shiny pink. So it's been a constant back and forth, and I've just settled for a coppery, slightly red gold. Works either way. So yeah. And aside from these various different forces, what I also like about 40k now, which they also have in Age of Sigmar, is the fact that they have Crusade rules, and Crusade is the RPG side of the rule set for 40k. So if you want to have like a sequential progress storyline, they have rules for that, and so I'll be prepared for doing that stuff. So aside from that, put this away because I will start assembling them sooner than later. Gonna briefly show you the data cards. So you have the information that you can easily put out during play or have an app, the 40k app, to show. But all the rules and instructions are here. Can this get outdated? Absolutely. That's why it's always a challenge if you get data cards like this. what happens if it's outdated, what do you do next. And so oftentimes you'll have to just refer to the app, and on the back you just have the symbol for Emperor's Children. And so aside from the data cards and the books, what you also have here are the bases for your models and the wonderful transfer sheet, which exists for anything that has a pattern that you can apply to the models. So after you're done painting the models, you would cut out the portion that you want for your model, warm it up into some, soak it into some, I believe, warm water. I forgot, I have to look it up again. And then apply these to the units and shoulder pads of the units. Like a lot of these right here are all shoulder pad stuff. This you could apply to vehicles and that are not a part of this box, but you have these transfer sheets that you can use at your choice. Now, if you need to order more, I'm not sure where else you can find them, but I know they come with any further units you buy of Emperor's Children, as they would for any army. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. Thanks for watching, and hopefully by the next time you see my progress with Emperor's Children, you'll probably catch it on social media. So, yep, thanks for watching.